Alrighty, we are now live. My name is David Florence. For those that are new to this channel, I suspect most aren't, but for those that are, my name is David Florence. I created a YouTube channel called Evolution of Dave as a means to chronicle my journey to enhance both my physical and mental health. And that's brought me on a wonderful journey of gaining various qualifications along the way, doing my own research to improve my health. And it's also brought me in touch with people such as Grega, or Greg, as he's also known. Grega Gostinkar is the founder of a business called Your Inception. He is also a certified brain health coach. So Greg, thank you for being here. Really nice to see you here and meet you here. The subject of our conversation today is all about how to improve our brain health and possibly boost our cognitive performance through both natural methods as well as supplementation. Greg is also known in the nootropics industry and has also researched and sampled various different nootropics. So we'll definitely be touching on that subject as well. So Greg, I wonder, you might be able to do a better job than my introduction. So over to you, if you can just introduce yourself and tell us how you got here. How did you get to being a brain expert?
First of all, thanks for inviting me. I think you've done a great job. So,
Thank you.
but yeah, it's a good question. So yeah, I started researching or trying to improve my brain performance about 7, 8 years ago now. I was doing my master's degree in business actually back then, and at the same time I was launching my first business, my first startup, and this was happening in Sweden where I lived at the moment. So it was quite a challenging moment in my life period actually, because doing the master's degree, starting a company, you had to do so many things at the same time, and at a certain point, I was like wondering, like, is there a way I can boost my performance, because I started crashing, I started getting really tired, and there was just more and more things piling up, so I had to do more and more all the time. And then, I heard about biohacking for the first time. I was like, wow, that sounds something for me. I watched the movie Limitless, actually, again.
Mm.
I was like, oh, maybe, there's something here happening, maybe some underground pills I can get and and enhance my performance. That's how I heard about nootropics and so on. So yeah, that was kind of at the start of this interesting journey. And soon after that, I started experimenting. Obviously, back then, there weren't that many influencers out there that not that many guides. There were just a few blogs and maybe a few. I don't even remember any YouTubers actually back then. So everything was kind of a new. You can get lots of useful information. If I got something, maybe about nootropics, most things were not even legal in Europe, especially not in Sweden. So it was kind of a hard period in this case. And yeah, then I started researching stuff. I started experimenting. I started learning about it, and yeah, here we are today with
Mm.
yeah.
And you've obviously discovered a number of things that we'll touch on today, I would imagine. And it's interesting, I suppose, because anybody, especially that has watched that movie Limitless, is hopeful that there is just one pill that might be able to significantly boost our brain power. We know, of course, that there isn't one pill out there that will do just that, not to the extent that they do in the movie, but I'm sure there will be in the future. We seem to be moving in leaps and bounds in our understanding of what goes on here. Although I think, from what I understand, and I'm sure you'll agree, there's still loads that we don't understand as to how this works. Certainly in my field of mental health, we still have limited understanding as to how to improve a person's mental health. There's still a limit to our understanding of what really goes on in here. It's a wonderful story, yours, and I think anybody that has chosen to create a path, a journey to improve their health, be it physical, mental, or whatever, is always on the right path, even if what they discover doesn't work or what they discover doesn't make them happy. They're still on the right path, and just staying on that path will always bring great reward. So from your perspective, what is the one thing that you've discovered that was significantly profound in your discovery that was a real kind of aha moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest aha moment that I had was when I figured out that the only effective way of boosting, let's say, brain performance is to have some kind of a systematic, holistic approach to it. So I couldn't find one thing that had like a real massive impact that was sustainable and healthy in a way, or not damaging. But as soon as I combined two, three, four different things um, that had maybe a small impact on its own, but when I combined them, they had a massive impact. And this impact was, so I was able to make this sustainable. I was able to get this impact over and over again if I repeated those things, if I did the same things over and over again. And that was, for me, was like, okay, so it's not about like, whatever, intermittent fasting. It's not about changing your diet. It's not about this amazing sleep hack or this amazing gadget or this amazing supplement, if you want, but it's about combining all of these things together, finding what works for you, obviously, sticking to it for a while, not just trying it for 1-2 days and say, this works or this doesn't work. um, and then yeah, once you find what works for you, just yeah, stick to it. And yeah.
Are you still taking any nootropics?
I do. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm still testing lots of stuff because companies are sending me new products. Well, basically every week. Behind me on the table and above me here, I have like piles of different supplements that I get, and I don't test everything I get, but something that stands out, I need to test it. I do. I prepare reviews then, and there's always something new coming out, so that's cool. Whenever I'm not testing any nootropics, I do take nootropics that work the best for me. And we can talk about this if you want to. And besides those nootropics, I always take some basic vitamins like B complex, like vitamin D3 plus K2, like omega-3. Those couple of basic supplements are, yeah, I take them daily, no matter what else I'm taking.
And the funny thing is, they are now basic supplements. I've said on my channel before that I previously didn't believe that we needed to supplement. I genuinely believed we should be able to get everything we needed from fruit, veg, stuff from the earth, good animal products. I now don't believe that, because obviously through research, and it's fairly obvious, we realize that the food that we're eating, even good organic food, is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
So we do need to supplement. And those ones you've just described are exactly the basic ones, aren't they? They're the kind of ones that everybody needs.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the cool thing about those is that, like, if you take the recommended daily intake, it's really hard to overdose. It's really hard to experience any kind of side effects, even if you take them, year after year after year. Nothing bad can happen as long as you stay within the daily recommendations. Whether you're gonna feel anything from them, that's a big question. Most people won't. But if you are like really like a particular B vitamin, for example, or in vitamin D3, your mood may improve, for example, or you may get healthier and actually may be able to notice that. But that's not why you're taking this. Not because of short-term effects, but because they're like super super important for general health. Of course, like you said, for example, for vitamin D3, for example, yeah, I mean, if you spend outside a couple of hours every day on the sun, that's fine. I mean, then you probably don't need to take vitamin D3. But do you spend this time outside? Like, that's the biggest question.
Yeah.
And what happens in the winter and when there's a bad weather? Like, what do you do then? So yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah, and also whether you wear sunglasses too much.
Yeah, exactly. And are you like running around naked, or
Yeah.
like are you all covered up with this super strong sunscreen, or
Yeah.
So.
And that, in the biohacking world, that's a really interesting topic of conversation that I think would be news to some people on this channel. That obviously certain things like sunscreen, there are better ones out there than the normal brands. And obviously people do need to try and steer clear of those normal brands because of the heavy metal and all the other content that they chuck in there that really isn't good for us. But the more exposure of the sun that we have on our skin without any protection is good. The problem with that statement, of course, is that you have to back it up with be sensible. You can't just stay out in 35 degree like it is right now and expect not to get some sort of sunburn. Sunburn will always be bad. But equally with sunglasses, that's another topic of conversation in the biohacking world, which is news to some people, that sunglasses are not good for you in the main. As in, if you're wearing them like a celebrity all day, every hour, then that's not good for you, because your body can't process the vitamin D. It thinks that it's shady outside, so it's not giving you the chemicals that you need that make you feel good. And I think it has an effect on your melatonin, or at least, yeah, I'm sure it does, doesn't it?
It does. It definitely does. It's the same thing actually with the blue light blockers. I mean, I
Oh,
have
really?
prescription lenses actually, and as you may see the reflection there, so I have the blue light
Right.
blocking lenses, and the thing is, I didn't know about it before, but I just recently heard it that apparently, obviously, I spend lots of time in front of my computer, 8-10 hours per day approximately. So for that reason, it's better to have such lenses than normal glasses without those blue light blocking effect. But if I go outside in the morning, for example, with those glasses, I block the blue light, which is not something you want to do in the morning. And then again, you see like, and I don't want to name any people, but you see like those crazy influencers running around with those or the orange glasses all day around. And I mean, this isn't good, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So what you mentioned, and I totally agree here, is like going into any extremes here is usually not the best way to go about it, and you need to be sensible. And like I was yesterday, we went like mountain biking, and I was spending like I think I spent like 4 or 5 hours outside, and of course I used sunscreen. Like, I mean, I was on a really hot sun from like 10 in the morning till like 2-3 p.m., right? What else could I do? And even now I have like certain pieces where I got some sunburn, and that's okay. I mean, it's not too bad. But if I would be like, some sunscreens aren't like that healthy and blah blah blah, of course I would be like totally red today. I couldn't sit here probably and talk to you. So yeah, I think people should get really sensible here and
Yeah.
use their brain as much as they can.
Yeah, and that's the problem with influencers, isn't it?
Totally.
Even the ones that are genuinely out there believing that what they're saying is right and that it's helpful for those for people. I think you just have to be very careful. You and I are the same. We both operate in this world. I wouldn't necessarily call myself an influencer, but when I think about it logically, there are things that I say that are going to influence other people. So maybe
Yeah.
I am, and therefore I'm very mindful about what I say. And generally say, what works for me won't necessarily work for you, and you've got to figure this out on your own, and do your own research, all that kind of stuff. Because unfortunately, people are a little bit silly, and they do take heed of things as if they're gospel, just because that person that they've trusted as a news source is telling them that it's okay to be naked all day in very hot sunshine. Anyway, I do want to talk to you about your nootropics. I find that stuff really interesting. But before we do, I suppose we ought to talk about the fact that nootropics are new, really. And there's, as you say, you've already suggested there are lots of new products coming out all the time. I would imagine you have to be very careful for the simple fact that anything that is man-made could well, regardless of its intention, could well have a negative effect on the body, could well have a negative symptom. Even if it's supposed to be brain boosting or healthy, there could well be a negative effect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would correct you slightly, if I may.
Please.
Synthetic nootropics are new, or the term nootropic is kind of a new. I mean, it's been invented or used since like the 1960s or something like that.
Right.
But most compounds that are considered nootropics have been around for centuries. Like, adaptogen
Okay.
herbs, amino acids, mushrooms.
Mm.
They're all considered nootropics, yeah. So, but like, racetams, those are like new nootropics that have been like man-made in the past, 30, 40 years. Now we have more and more compounds coming out every year, basically, which are man-made. And I try to differentiate between those two groups. And personally, I'm a real big fan of natural compounds, of natural extracts, of mushrooms, of adaptogens, of different herbs and stuff. For two reasons. First of all, more studies were done on those compounds. And secondly, they were used in various medicines, like in traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine for centuries. This doesn't mean they're healthy. This doesn't mean they're safe. It doesn't really mean they're really effective. But it gives you a better understanding. Like if a particular compound have been used for like hundreds of years, I think well, you're on a safer side when you decide you're going to take it. Whereas there's a compound that was developed like a couple of years ago, and there's like one study that was paid by the company that made the compound. You don't know what's going to happen. So when it comes to synthetic compounds, yes, it's you always have to think about the side effects, what could potentially happen, maybe not in 1-2 months, but what's going to happen in 1 to 5 years. And also when it comes to natural compounds, it's the same thing. You're not just supposed to take whatever you can and in high dosages and hope you're going to just get the benefits. That's probably not going to happen. That's why it's really important to kind of, when it comes to nootropics, first define your goal or like your problem that you wanna work on, and then find the appropriate nootropics. You don't need to take like 20-30 compounds. Maybe you need just 1, 2, 3 compounds. And it's good to understand the mechanism of action. How can a particular nootropic help you achieve this desired effect? And then the last thing that is really important is to then take a particular nootropic that you choose for a short period, try it out, see how it works on you, and you probably don't need to take it for more than like a couple of months, or if you have to, then you need to cycle it. So you take it for a certain period, you stop taking it, and you repeat the cycle. For most herbs or other compounds like that have been used in traditional medicine, they were used in such a way. So they were given to a person for a short period or a longer period, kind of depends. And they had to take it for a while, and they had to stop taking it, and then they could repeat the cycle if they wanted to. So I personally, and maybe I don't think everyone would agree with me here, but I'm not like a big proponent of people just buying a bunch of supplements or nootropic stacks in this case and taking it every single day for the rest of their life. I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think it's more about like, okay, this is a problem. Maybe you're too stressed. Okay, here are 2-3 compounds like ashwagandha, like bacopa, rhodiola, for example. Maybe a synthetic compound that can help you in the short period. Cool. There's this mix. Just take it for 2 to 3 months. See how this impacts you, and in between during this process, try to find the cause. What is causing the stress, what is causing this anxiety. Of course, nootropics will help you in the period, but if you're not going to change your lifestyle, they're not going to make it better. They're not going to you have to find the cause. So I see nootropics as a tool that can be used in this transition period, in which nootropics kind of give you make your life slightly easier, while you're searching for the root cause of your problems and ways how to actually get rid of the problem.
That is so wise. That really is. And I think you're right. I don't think many people in your position would make those statements, but I'm totally on board with that. In the same way that if anybody was on antidepressants, I would certainly say to them that has to be done with a short-term perspective. Unfortunately, in this country in particular, antidepressants are not seen in the medical industry as a short-term option. Yeah. And people are taking them for life. And when I took ashwagandha, I had really positive results with it. And I was going through a very tough time. I was experiencing panic attacks, anxiety, and it really helped. But even though in my mind, I was thinking, well, this is a healthy product. It's a root herb. Surely it's okay to take it over a long period. I remember making that conscious decision of at some point thinking, okay, I think I've got this now. I'm all right. I'm going to stop taking it. And I think the more we realize that actually the optimum way of living is to live in as natural a fashion as is possible, moving our body, pushing our body, interacting with other human beings, being in nature. In other words, reminding ourselves of how we've predominantly lived on this planet. That's probably the wisest and safest way of living. And then, as you say, every now and again, if something comes into your existence that might help you get through your exams, might help you calm down for an interview, might help you deal with anxiety or stress, and that it's been recommended, then it is absolutely worth considering. But I think even those you have to take with an element of caution if you're new to it. I remember I took astaxanthin, and I had a really bad time with it. I didn't feel good taking it. But of course, that is a natural, supposedly natural molecule. I had the same with MCT oil, but actually I overdosed with MCT oil. I
Yeah.
didn't realize I was taking as much.
I wanted to ask you about the dosage.
Yeah, yeah, that was stupid. So anyway, but then in a way, you kind of need those moments, don't you? You need moments of realization of, okay, that doesn't work, or I've been stupid and taken too much, to remind you that all of this is your own research program. And
Absolutely.
you can't expect anybody, even if they're labeled an expert, to give you profound, absolute advice about what would be right for you. Nobody knows what's going to be right for you. Only you will figure that out when you test that product on yourself.
Absolutely. And that's why when people reach out to me, would they have all kind of different conditions, health problems, and they say, okay, tell me, what's the best thing I can do, or what's the best supplement I can take? And my answer is, I don't know, but you can try this because of that and that and that. So you can try it out, discuss with your medical doctor or whatever. You need to, someone needs to double check what I'm recommending. Try it out if you want to, and then please get back to me, and you will see what's going to happen, if we're going in the right direction or not. In most cases we go in the right direction, but not in every case. So sometimes we recommend something and people say, hey, this didn't work. I'm like, okay, that's fine, we'll find something else. I mean, there are thousands or hundreds of products we can choose from. But yeah, what you said totally makes sense. So do not trust 100% like to anyone. Like you should find some people you actually trust, that have experience, that know what they're talking about, and if they give you recommendations, sure, go for it, try it out, but then listen to yourself and find out what works for you, and that's going to be the best thing for you.
So let's talk about nootropics that supposedly boost performance. I've only ever tried one. I know you've tried lots. And the one that I did try was...
It's pretty broad. Okay, like Go is Go from, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Modere Go.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily recommending it. It is full of vitamins, carnitine, glycine, sage extract, choline, taurine, tyrosine. What I found this to be really useful for, and definitely worked for me, was to enable me to churn out a lot of work very, very quickly. I was creating my trauma program, my online program, and I needed to create a whole load of videos for it in a very short space of time. And I did that with the help of that, and it really helped. The good thing with it didn't have any negative side effects, and I was expecting there to be some, nor did it give you the jitters that a lot of caffeine would do. But equally, I haven't ever taken it and as a long term. It was only ever a short period, which I think is exactly, as we've discussed, the right course of action. So what have you discovered in that same area of nootropics for boosting performance to be one or two products that you found personally really did the trick?
If you want, like, I have some products here, I can even show them if you want to, but I don't necessarily need to promote any products or want to. But so basically, when it comes to performance, there are two types of people, and there are two types of products for those two types of people. So there's one group of people that's like me, who need something to calm me down in the morning. So I don't need a typical booster. If I take caffeine, for example, or any kind of stimulant, I'm gonna get this really strong push of energy, and then I'm gonna crash like crazy. I'm gonna get nervous. I'm gonna be anxious and so on. So I need something to calm me down in the morning already, and kind of enhance my focus. And that kind of supplement would include something like L-theanine. It would include something like some choline compound, maybe some precursors for serotonin. There would be like some extracts in like ginseng is great for that kind of effect. Rhodiola rosea, those kind of compounds that can stimulate you, but not in a typical stimulant way, basically. So those compounds are going to give you, they're gonna make you more present. They're gonna calm you down, but give you focus. But on the other side, there's another group of people, and I don't know which group is bigger, but still, they need something to boost them up in the morning. they need this strong, like not really strong, but they need some kind of a boost in the morning. And those people usually work well with if they take caffeine, if they take MCT oil, like you mentioned before, if they take L-tyrosine, so the dopamine precursor, or phenylalanine, which is also the dopamine precursor. They work well with if they take taurine, if they take what else could be there? Well, choline is a compound, so is a acetylcholine precursor that's good for both groups, so that doesn't really matter. So basically, you have those two groups. For example, since we talk about products, if you take Qualia Mind made by Neurohacker Collective, this is one of the products I recommend the most. This is kind of a one for all supplement. Basically, it contains about 28 compounds, and it has actually compounds that both the groups should take. It is done in a way that both groups get something out of it or are really satisfied with it. But if you really want to be more specific, and if you know in which group you are, then you have like some more like personalized recommendations. I'm just testing Thesis. I think it's takethesis.com, which is a very well-known supplement brand or nootropic brand that is developing personalized nootropics. And we at Your Inception are working on some solution like that at the moment.
So you're working on your own nootropic?
We do. And we go in this direction. So we don't want to make one solution for everyone, because we know about those different types of problems people have, and different types of people, basically. Because of that, we want to make a couple of different solutions, give it to people. They should try it out, see in which group they fall. We actually separate them by their brain type, which is defined with the based on the assessment they do. And this assessment that we developed actually checks what's happening in 4 different brain regions. So we go very scientifically. Yeah, it's not just like a tip.
That's interesting. So how do you do that test without sticking electrodes on somebody's head?
That's a good question. So what we've done is, or what we've been doing for the past couple of months, or now it's been a year, we work with neuroscientists here, obviously, and they helped us kind of understand like which are the main, the crucial brain regions that are responsible for your performance, well-being, and so on. Based on that, and this is still even in the neuroscience world, this is still like not as clearly defined as I'm making right now, but we know, like, for example, like we know there are different types of different brain regions that are responsible for different types of actions and so on. That's what we know for sure. And then we started developing then we started like asking us like questions like, how can we find out what's happening in this particular brain region? Like, what kind of questions should we ask, and how we could measure that? And then we used different technologies. We used QEEG, or neurofeedback, basically, to evaluate like if this particular question or this particular group of questions does actually check what we want to do. We used SPECT brain tests, which check the activity of different brain regions, and then we work with different kind of experts, and the result was a group of about 60 questions, about 15 questions per brain region, which with a very high accuracy, and this has been validated with
That's amazing.
Yeah, checks what happens in the particular brain region. Now, what this helps us to do is, once we get the whole picture, without even talking to someone, and we have an additional assessment, which is a more lifestyle assessment, which is very, very important as well. But even without this assessment, we know what kind of protocol or what kind of step-by-step guide can we develop or should help this person, right? Based on this assessment, and because of that, we also know what kind of supplements should help this person. Now, if someone has like a severe brain damage, if like let's say his temporal lobe is like damaged from an accident or something, then of course supplements won't be really helpful here. Then they need to talk to maybe a psychiatrist or someone else, and get the right medicine and so on. But for the majority of people, they don't have like a severe brain damage. We know what's happening without doing like those super expensive spec tests, then we can give very, very detailed recommendations in terms of supplements, in terms of different brain hacks, as we like to call them. Yeah, people based on the tests we've done so far, people get really amazing results quite quickly.
That really has blown my mind. And I should also add, before we go any further, by the way, I don't think you are, but neither you or I are sponsored by any particular nootropics, although obviously NMN, I do work with NMN Bio, but people know that on my channel, and therefore I do promote it. But apart from that, yeah, anything else that we discuss here is not based on any kind of sponsorship.
Yeah.
What I like about you and your message actually is that I think there's in the earlier part of the conversation, you almost wanted to step away from mentioning any particular nootropic brands because, as you've correctly stated, well, number one nootropic might work really well for one person that won't do for another. We're all completely different from a neurochemical, well, not neurochemical, well, yes, from a neurochemical perspective, because our bodies produce either a huge amount or not so much, when it comes to serotonin or dopamine. But what I was also intrigued there was when you mentioned that it's almost like looking at, in Indian or Ayurvedic terms, when you look at dosha types and the different, therefore, types of pitta, vata, etc. in these dosha types that indicate to an extent who you are as a person, how you perceive the world, and what foods you should or shouldn't eat, and whether you should drink caffeine in the morning. You're almost kind of coming at it from that perspective when it comes to nootropics, which again is really interesting. Because I do think there's probably a lot of people out there that just have a blanket approach of, just take qualia mind. That will definitely work. And that's it. Off you go. Rather than, okay, well, what kind of person are you? Let's figure out what your body and brain really needs.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking was, because of the thing that I found is that because I do so much on the natural side, from having cold showers to breath work to yoga, exercise in other forms, I think the response that I often get from either nootropics, not that I've tried many, by the way, or other supposedly healthy products, is often quite subtle. And I think it has something to do with the fact that I do so many other things that theoretically, hopefully, are helping the production of neurochemicals. And so when I thought about your nootropic that you were mentioning earlier, and you were mentioning N-acetylcholine, and these dopamine precursors, it made me think, well, I know already that because of my cold shower, I have a dopamine curve that lasts for 3 hours in the morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry, that's a long ramble, but I just find that totally fascinating.
Yeah, but that's what they're saying. That's like super important. Like, okay, so you take this cold shower in the morning, you do yoga or you meditate, or you go outside, get some sun exposure. So after, let's say when you start working, after 1 or 2 hours after you wake up, you are very present, you're very focused, you have lots of energy, your cortisol is high enough for you to operate normally, your other neurotransmitters are fine, and then you take like a really strong, let's say, dopamine precursor. You probably will get like negative effects from it, or maybe you won't feel anything and you'll say, hey, this doesn't work for me. And yeah, it's not supposed to work for you because you're fine, you don't need this. And that's like, or it could be the other way around as well. So that's why it's so important to look at the lifestyle of a person, see what happens, and then based on that, kind of try different things. And if I give you like, if the way like your lifestyle looks like, or the way you explained it, you probably don't need to take lots of nootropics. It also a little bit depends on your diet and stuff like this, but then you probably don't even have many issues, like issues with focus or stress or anxiety, I would assume. But people that have issues, or like very severe issues, they should look at their lifestyle, and also, we can then talk about different nootropics that could help them. So so that's why, I kind of see like those movies, like Limitless movie and Lucy, I think, was one, like a similar one.
Yeah.
I think they are like they are a total how do you call it, misrepresentation of the whole nootropic industry, because people think like, okay, this is a magical pill that will like boost my IQ, make me like super smart, and I need to take this daily to achieve that. this is not a nootropic. This is like a illegal thing that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
It's a magic. It's a fantasy. It's a totally different thing. So yeah, that's how I see it.
But it will exist, won't it? And it will possibly not necessarily. Well, it will quite possibly be something that isn't a pill.
Yeah.
A bit like Musk's Neuralink and the various other things like that. It's going to be some form of technology that will boost our power. It
Oh,
will
yeah.
have negative effects, and there will be some serious consequences. But there's going to be things like that coming along.
Absolutely.
We just don't
Yeah.
have it now, and I think that's a really important point to mention. Well done.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, well, one thing I know for sure, I'd love to take that test at some point. That seems really interesting. Where is, perhaps as a last point now, where is your company going? What are you hoping for in the next 5 years?
Well, we definitely want to impact the industry, kind of spread the message in a way that people understand the difference between nootropics and drugs or smart drugs or anything else that is out there. That they kind of understand, like, yeah, what is what and what's better and what's healthy and whatnot. That's one thing. The second thing is, yeah, we are developing our own solutions right now, and we hope to introduce them by the end of this year or by the beginning of next year. And I'm sure this is going to happen. We are also working on a holistic approach to peak brain performance, as we like to call it. So we are working on a platform where people will, so they will go through the assessment, and then they will get different types of hacks. They can help improve their performance. It depends on their problems.
Brilliant.
So we're definitely going into this holistic approach to help people actually achieve brain performance, and we're gonna do everything we can to fight with all the scammy stuff that is out there and all the crap advice that others are giving. We'll do our best. I mean, it's we really want people to we honestly want to help them improve their health, or at least performance, if nothing else, and not to sell something that is either unhealthy, risky, or potentially damaging. That's not something you want to do.
Always hard, though, isn't it, when you run a business? Because I think you can enter that with this moralistic perspective as you are, but equally people know that if you're a business, you have to make money, you have to turn a profit, and so and there's nothing wrong with that, and that will equally have to be a part of your business plan. But I can tell already that there is a genuine desire that whatever it is that you produce will, you hope, be very helpful for others in need. And that's when you get the reward, isn't it? And I think businesses are beginning to understand this now. Well, some, not many, but some.
Some, I think, yeah.
But it's mostly the new. It's the new startups that are driven by young people like you, that are possibly seeing the world from a different perspective and do genuinely want to make a difference. Yes, make a profit, but equally, it would be nice to actually really help people, especially those that have been on pharmaceuticals for too long, for example.
Absolutely, and I think that's the thing. Like, of course, if you're a business, you need to make money, you need to pay salaries, you need to survive. But you can do this with a solution that, first of all, it works, and secondly, you sell it to people who actually need it.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people out there, so that's fine. You just don't, as long as you're not selling something to people that don't need this, I think that's fine. It's a totally different perspective.
Totally agree. Sorry, the sun is really beaming in my face now, as you can see. Look,
I can see it.
This 35-degree sun that we have right now. It might even be higher than that now. Anyway, Greg, really good talking to you. I'm fascinated. I know the viewers would have been fascinated with that, and I do love your perspective when it comes to nootropics, and I don't think many people are coming at it from that angle. So
yeah,
good for you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I've been here, like, I started researching this quite early, and I've been, I'm still interested in what's going on the market. I'm still testing new things because I love it, and I do take things that I promote, so that's important.
Yeah.
Because I do believe in them, and yeah, we will continue doing that.
Where should people find you then? You've got a YouTube channel, your company. Could you just run through the list of things where people can find you?
Absolutely. If you go to yourinception.com, you're gonna find us there and all important information. You can go on YouTube, Your Inception again, Instagram. That's where we're mostly present, and you can also reach out to me. You can just send me an email to greg@yourinception.com, and I'll reply. So.
That's really cool. And actually, I should say your YouTube channel is amazing, and I love the way you've gone about testing these products. Some really good stuff on there. So if anybody's watching, do check out his channel. Really good talking to you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Looking forward to if we do another one.
Absolutely. Stay well.